Sarah Mitchell sat in the living room of her cozy wooden house in suburban Denver, Colorado, where the flickering candlelight cast shadows on the glass of red wine in her hand. The soulful saxophone of John Coltrane filled the air, its melancholic notes echoing her heart. At 58, Sarah had grown accustomed to evenings like this. Quiet, solitary, yet a time to confront herself. 10 years ago, when Tom, her beloved husband, passed away from a sudden heart attack, she had learned to live with the emptiness. But tonight, there was a subtle unease, as if something was about to shift. Her home sat on a peaceful street, surrounded by towering pines and neighbouring houses, glowing faintly in the distance. Sarah wore a cream silk dress, light and flowing, a quiet reminder that she still had life within her, despite the years etched into her face. Her son Ethan, 32, had flown to Seattle that morning for a tech conference, leaving the house quieter than ever. Only the crackle of the fireplace and her soft breaths broke the silence. She sipped her wine, letting its bittersweet warmth spread through her chest, then set the glass down, her gaze drifting to a family photo on the mantel. Her Tom and Ethan, a happier time now reduced to memory. She smiled wistfully, wondering if she was truly living or merely existing. Just then the doorbell rang, shattering the stillness. Sarah started, her heart quickening. "Who could that be?" she murmured, glancing at the clock. It was nearly 9 p.m. She stood, pulling a thin cardigan over her silk dress, and walked to the door. The porch light revealed a tall figure, and when she opened it, she saw Ryan Carter standing there, dressed in a brown leather jacket, his hair tousled from the chilly night air. Ryan, Ethan's best friend since college, always carried an energy that was both confident and warm. He held up a USB drive and a stack of papers, offering a sheepish smile. "Sarah, sorry for coming by so late," Ryan said, his voice deep and clear, roughened slightly by the cold. "Ethan asked me to finish some documents for his project. I just wrapped up and figured I'd drop them off." Sarah blinked, masking her surprise. "Oh, Ryan, it's fine. But this late? You didn't have to rush." He shrugged, his smile widening, revealing a small dimple on his left cheek. "I live nearby. Didn't want to stress Ethan out. He's got enough on his plate." Sarah smiled, a warmth spreading through her, as if Ryan's presence had brightened the room. "Come in. Don't stand out in the cold. Want something to drink? Coffee or wine?" Ryan chuckled, his brown eyes glinting under the light. "Wine sounds good." She stepped aside, and as Ryan entered, she suddenly realized how thin her silk dress was under the soft glow of the living room. She pulled her cardigan tighter, but couldn't help noticing Ryan's gaze flicker over her just for a moment before he looked away, setting the documents on the wooden table by the fireplace. Sarah led Ryan into the living room, where the candles painted dancing shadows on the walls. He glanced around the wine glass, the jazz music, the crackling fire, and settled onto the sofa, his posture relaxed yet polite. "Looks like I'm interrupting a perfect evening," he said, a playful edge to his voice, his fingers tapping lightly on his knee. Sarah laughed, taking the armchair across from him, keeping a safe distance. "Hardly. Just a quiet night. Since Tom passed, evenings like this help me sort through things." Ryan nodded, his eyes soft as if he understood more than her words conveyed. "I get it. Ethan's told me about his dad, and about you, how strong you've been, even when it wasn't easy. I've always thought you were someone special." His words caught her off guard. She looked down, fidgeting with her wine glass, a flush of warmth spreading through her chest. "Thank you, Ryan. But I'm not that special. Just trying to keep going." Their conversation flowed gently like a river finding its course. They talked about Ethan, how he always made people laugh with his silly jokes, how he nearly burned the kitchen, trying to cook for Sarah on Mother's Day. Ryan shared stories about his work as an architect, designing modern homes with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the Rockies or cosy cabins tucked in pine forests. "I love creating spaces where people feel safe but free," he said, his eyes lighting up with passion. Sarah listened, drawn in by his enthusiasm. She found herself smiling more, as if being pulled from the shell of loneliness she'd built. She told him about the days she and Tom used to drive through Colorado's small towns, stopping at roadside diners for burgers and milkshakes. One time we got lost, and Tom insisted he knew the way, but we ended up sleeping in the car under the stars, she said, laughing, her voice tinged with nostalgia. Ryan tilted his head, his gaze warm but piercing. "You miss him a lot, don't you?" Sarah nodded, her throat tightening. "Every day. But I'm learning to live without him." A silence settled between them, broken only by the jazz and the fire's crackle. Then Ryan spoke, his voice lower. "Sarah, I can't help but notice you're lonely. Someone like you, strong, beautiful, doesn't deserve to be alone like this." His words hit her like a wave, both painful and tender. Sarah met his gaze, her breath catching her cheeks, warming. "Ryan, loneliness is sometimes my choice. After Tom, I wasn't sure I could open my heart again." He leaned forward slightly, his eyes unwavering. Maybe loneliness isn't always the best shield. The air between them grew heavy, charged with an invisible pull. Sarah stood pretending to fetch more wine to break the moment. When she returned, she poured Ryan a glass, trying to hide her unease. "What about you, Ryan? Someone like you, smart, charming. Why are you alone?" Ryan smiled faintly, but his eyes were serious. "Maybe I haven't found the right person. Or maybe I have, but I'm too scared to admit it." His words hung in the air, an unspoken confession. Sarah's heart raced. She wanted to press further, but part of her feared the answer. That night, as Ryan left, she stood by the window watching his truck's taillights fade down the snow-dusted road, her mind swirling with unanswered questions. In the days that followed, Sarah couldn't stop thinking about Ryan. A short text from him. "Thanks for last night, Sarah. Loved talking with you." Made her smile all day, though she told herself she shouldn't. They started texting more often at first about Ethan or work, but soon delving into deeper territory. Ryan shared stories of driving into the mountains to stargaze the freedom of being alone with nature. Sarah opened up about her youthful dreams, opening a small bakery with homemade cookies, a plan she'd abandoned for family obligations. One afternoon, Ryan invited her for coffee at Blue Moon, a charming cafe near downtown Denver with red brick walls and the rich aroma of roasted beans. Sarah hesitated, knowing that meeting him could lead to complications she wasn't ready for, but she agreed, telling herself it was just coffee. They sat by the window watching pedestrians on 16th Street and talked about everything. Old Tarantino movies they loved. Times. Ethan made them laugh with his goofy antics. Sarah noticed she was laughing more, feeling lighter in Ryan's presence. He had a way of making her forget her worries, as if she weren't a 58-year-old widow but a young woman exploring life anew, yet each meeting brought a pang of guilt. Ryan was Ethan's best friend, nearly her son's age. Was this wrong? She asked herself, but her heart ignored reason. Their meetings became a secret routine, a walk along the South Platte River, pausing to skip stones across the water, watching ripples spread, an evening in Ryan's truck by the roadside, the Rockies glowing orange under the sunset. Each moment made her feel alive, but also pulled her deeper into an emotional whirlpool. One night, as they sat in Ryan's truck under dim streetlights, he took her hand. His fingers were warm, steady, and Sarah's heart pounded. "Sarah, I know this isn't simple," he said, his voice low and earnest, "but I can't pretend I don't feel something for you. You make me want to be a better man." Sarah pulled her hand back, her breath shaky. "Ryan, we can't. Ethan, what would he think? And I'm not sure I'm ready." Ryan looked at her, his eyes resolute. "I'm not pushing you, but if you feel even a fraction of what I do, give us a chance." That night, Sarah lay awake, unable to sleep. Ryan's words were a fire, warm yet dangerous, burning through the barriers she'd built. She stared at Tom's photo on her nightstand, whispering, "What do I do, Tom?" But this time, his memory offered no answers. A week later, Sarah received a text from Ryan. "Sarah, Saturday, 8 p.m. Meet me at Pinewood Lake. I want to take you somewhere special, just us." The message sent a shiver through her. She knew this wasn't just an invitation. It was a turning point, a door to a path she wasn't sure she dared walk. All day, she wrestled with herself. Part of her yearned to follow her heart, to live for herself for the first time in years. But another part was terrified of hurting Ethan, of unravelling the life she'd built, of losing herself entirely, Tracy of what she'd promised Tom. She'd always be a good mother, a loyal wife, even in his absence. She stood before her mirror, studying her tired eyes. The faint lines at their corners, the silver strands in her brown hair, all reminders that time didn't wait. "What are you doing, Sarah?" she asked her reflection, but deep down she knew she wanted to go. She wanted Ryan's warmth to feel loved, if only for a moment. Sarah opened her closet, choosing a fitted black dress that hugged her curves, a boldness she hadn't felt in years. The neckline dipped just enough, the hem grazing her knees, elegant yet daring. She let her hair fall in soft waves, painted her lips a deep red. Looking in the mirror, she smiled, seeing a woman she hadn't known in years. She texted Ethan, "Going to dinner with a friend tonight? Don't worry." Then she grabbed her keys, heart pounding, and drove to Pinewood Lake. On the way, she turned on the radio, and Fleetwood Mac's Landslide played its lyrics, piercing her heart. "I've built my life around you, but time makes you bolder." She gripped the steering wheel, telling herself it was just one night, a chance to feel alive. But deep down, she knew nothing would be simple after this. When Sarah arrived at Pinewood Lake, Ryan waited by his pickup truck, the moonlight shimmering on the water like a painting come to life. He stepped out, wearing a navy button-up with rolled sleeves, his smile melting her heart. "Sarah," he said, his voice warm and low. "You're more beautiful than I imagined." He took her hand, their fingers intertwining, and led her down a gravel path lined with towering pines, the scent of sap heavy in the air. At the path's end stood a wooden cabin, its windows glowing with soft golden light beckoning them closer. Inside it was a dream, crackling fireplace, a table set with candles and wild flowers, 2 glasses of red wine. A plush rug lay before the fire, and simple landscape paintings of the Rockies adorned the walls, understated yet elegant. Sarah stepped inside, awestruck feeling as if she'd entered another world. "Ryan, you built this?" He nodded, his eyes never leaving her. "Designed it myself. A place to escape work. Stress, everything. But tonight it's for you." They sat by the fire sipping wine, their conversation deepening. Ryan shared stories of his tough younger years, working endless hours to help his mum pay debts after his dad left. "Some nights I didn't sleep, just stared at the ceiling, wondering if I'd make it," he said, his voice heavy. Sarah opened up about the years after Tom's death, how she felt like she was living for others. Ethan, friends, family. "Some days I don't know who I am anymore," she whispered, staring into the flames. Ryan took her hand, his touch warm and steady. "Sarah, I can't pretend anymore. I think about you all the time. You deserve to be happy to be loved." His words shattered her defenses. Sarah met his gaze, her heart pounding so hard she thought it might burst. "Ryan, I'm scared. Scared this is wrong. Scared of hurting Ethan. But I can't deny I want you too." The space between them vanished. Ryan leaned in, his lips brushing hers, tentative at first, then fierce, a fire igniting between them. His kiss was passionate, yet tender, as if memorizing every second Sarah responded, her arms wrapping around his neck, his warmth seeping through her fingertips. They let their emotions take over, clothes falling to the floor, and in that moment, nothing else existed but them. Ryan whispered her name, his voice raw with feeling, and Sarah felt alive, rediscovering a part of herself long lost. They lay on the rug before the fire, its glow dancing on their skin, shadows weaving a spell. His heartbeat, strong and steady, anchored her, and for a fleeting moment she thought she could stay here forever. But as they lost themselves in each other, Sarah's phone buzzed on the wooden table. She reached for it reluctantly, and her heart stopped at Ethan's message. "Mum, where are you? I'm home and you're not here." Panic surged through her. She pushed Ryan away, her eyes wide with fear. "Oh God, Ethan, he's back early." "Ryan, we can't let him know." Ryan grabbed her hand, trying to calm her, his expression torn but resolute. "Sarah, breathe. We'll figure it out. But tonight, stay with me. Just one night." She looked at him, tears welling, torn between love and fear. She texted Ethan back. "I'm at a friend's. Don't worry, I'll be home tomorrow." But inside a storm raged. This night had changed everything, and she wasn't sure she could go back. The next morning, Sarah drove home, her heart heavy. She hadn't slept, her mind replaying the night. Ryan's kiss, his warmth, Ethan's message. When she walked in, Ethan was in the kitchen, a cold coffee mug before him. His eyes were sharp, suspicious, and Sarah's stomach twisted. "Mom, where were you last night?" he asked, his tone calm but cutting. "I called you. No answer." Sarah forced a smile, her voice trembling. "I went to dinner with an old friend. My phone died, honey." Ethan nodded, but his expression said he wasn't convinced. "Which friend, Mom? You stayed out all night." Her throat went dry. She wanted to tell him the truth, but fear silenced her. "Just someone from way back, Ethan. It's nothing." He stood, setting the mug down. "Fine. Just let me know next time. Okay, I was worried." The days that followed were torture. Sarah tried to avoid Ryan, but her heart wouldn't let go. They texted, and once she agreed to meet him at Blue Moon. They sat in a corner laughing about a new movie, a Mexican restaurant Ryan wanted to try with her, but Sarah didn't know Ethan was passing by, catching sight of them through the window. He saw her smile, saw Ryan lean closer to whisper something, and his face darkened. Without a word, he walked away, but Sarah felt a chill as if she'd crossed a line she couldn't uncross. Then, one afternoon, Linda, an old family friend, visited Sarah. They sat in the living room sipping chamomile tea, and after some small talk, Linda dropped a bomb. "You heard anything about Ryan? Back in the day he got into some trouble. Not sure what, but I heard it involved his family and Ethan. Just be careful, Sarah." Linda's words hit like a punch. Sarah kept her face neutral, but her mind raced. What was Ryan hiding? Did she really know him? She thought of the cabin, his words, and wondered if it was all real. Yet she couldn't deny the warmth he brought, the feeling of being alive after years of numbness. That night, Sarah sat by her window, watching snowflakes drift down, swirling like her thoughts. She texted Ryan, "We need to talk. There's something I need to know." His reply was instant. "Tomorrow. Cherry Creek Park, 6 p.m. I'll tell you everything." The next evening, Sarah stood in Cherry Creek Park, the cold wind tugging at her hair, carrying the scent of fallen leaves and earth. Ryan arrived wearing a grey coat, his eyes anxious but steady. She didn't waste time. "Ryan, be honest. What are you hiding? I heard about some trouble in your past. Something with Ethan?" Ryan sighed, sitting on a wooden bench by the lake, gesturing for her to join him. He stared at the water glinting under the fading light, as if gathering his memories. "Sarah, I'm not perfect," he began, his voice low and measured. "When I was 19, my family hit rock bottom after my dad left. Mum worked non-stop. But it wasn't enough. I did something stupid. I helped rob a convenience store, thinking a few $100 would save us. I got caught." Sarah's heart sank, but she stayed silent, letting him continue. Ethan was the only one who knew. Ryan said, his eyes pained. "He didn't just forgive me. He used his savings to help pay off our debts. Kept me out of jail. I owe him my life. But it's a secret I've carried with shame, Sarah. I didn't want you to see me as that guy." Sarah looked at him, her heart softening. She wanted to trust him, but fear lingered. "Ryan, why didn't you tell me sooner? I need to know I can trust you." He took her hand, his gaze earnest. "Sarah, I'm not perfect, but with you I've never lied. I swear." Before she could respond, Ryan's phone rang. He frowned, answered, and his face paled. "Ethan, he's been in a car accident. It's not bad, but he's at St. Joseph's." Sarah's world spun the ground unsteady beneath her. They raced to the hospital in silence. Sarah's mind consumed with Ethan, the boy who held her hand in parks, the man who was her pride. If she lost him, she'd never forgive herself. At the hospital, Sarah found Ethan on a bed, a few scratches on his face and arm, his weak smile breaking her heart. She burst into tears, hugging him tightly. "Ethan, are you okay? I'm so sorry. Ethan looked at her, then at Ryan behind her, his eyes sharper than ever. "Mom, Ryan, what's going on? I saw you at the cafe." "I'm not stupid." Sarah took a deep breath, clutching Ryan's hand. She knew it was time to face the truth, no matter the cost. In the sterile hospital room under harsh fluorescent lights, Sarah told Ethan everything: the meetings with Ryan, the night at the cabin, the feelings she couldn't suppress. She spoke through tears, her voice trembling, terrified she'd lose her son forever. "Ethan, I never meant to hurt you, but I've been so lonely, and Ryan, he makes me feel alive again." Ethan was silent, his gaze shifting between her and Ryan. She saw his hands clench the bedsheet, wrestling with his emotions. After what felt like forever, he sighed, taking her hand. "Mum, I just want you to be happy. If Ryan makes you happy, I'll try to accept it. But I need time. This isn't easy." His words were a gift. Sunlight through storm clouds. Sarah looked at Ryan, his eyes brimming with hope and a trace of fear. They left the hospital hand in hand, knowing the road ahead wouldn't be smooth. There were questions unanswered, obstacles to face from neighbours' curious glances, to friends' whispers, from their own doubts. Within, weeks later, on a crisp autumn morning, Sarah stood by Cherry Creek Lake, watching sunlight dance on the water, ripples carrying her dreams. Ryan stood beside her, silent but close, his breath mingling with the cool air. "Will we be okay?" she asked, her voice soft but heavy, with a lifetime of feeling. Ryan smiled, squeezing her hand, his fingers lacing through hers like a vow. "As long as we're honest with each other, Sarah, we'll be fine. I don't promise easy, but I promise I'm here for you." Sarah looked at him, warmth flooding her chest, as if for the first time in years she was truly alive. She thought of Tom, the years they shared, and knew he'd want her happiness. She thought of Ethan, the journey to rebuild trust with him. And she thought of herself, the woman who thought she'd lost everything, now finding herself piece by piece. Their story didn't end here. It was only beginning. A tale of courage, of rediscovery, of second chances. Life offered. Sarah didn't know what lay ahead. But one thing was certain. She wouldn't let fear stop her from living true to her heart anymore.